In the past, I've talked about all the narratives that the Democratic Party elite and the left in general have floated to sort of confuse us about who or what was responsible for the horrific shooting of Charlie Kirk. We've been told there was no motive. That was crazy. Or we've been told that MAGA people did it. That was shot down very quickly when evidence proved otherwise. We were told that Trump himself was the catalyst. That was shot down. We were told it was a love story between the shooter and his trans boyfriend, girlfriend, and that explained it, the emotional turmoil. That was shot down. And finally, I suggested to you that they came to what they most naturally felt comfortable with. They were going to be unapologetic. They were going to attack Charlie Kirk as a disruptive, racist, horrible human being, and then things happen, meaning he asked for it. I didn't quite anticipate what we saw the last week when Ilhan Omar went on national TV, and when she was asked about some of her comments, saying that he sort of deserved what he got, she doubled down on it, just as I'd expected, but I didn't think she would do it to that degree of vehemence. She said that he was a racist and that he, every day of his life, had been espousing hatred for groups such as herself. AOC tried to top that, and she said that AOC came in, and there's sort of a rivalry, remember, among members of the squad. So she was obviously thinking, how do I how can I gross out Ilhan Omar by coming up with my own exegesis that is even more heartless and mean? And she did. She basically said, I'm not going to be in a position where I have to support Charlie Kirk's legacy. Nobody was asking her to. They were just asking her, with other members of Congress, to express their sympathies for his family in a memorial vote of remembrance. And then we, of course, had the ubiquitous Jasmine Crockett. She came on national news, and she said that she was really upset because the House had voted for this formal declaration of remembrance and commemoration for Charlie Kirk. And then she said she was really angry because, in her view, there were only two Caucasians. I haven't heard that word for the Russian caucus in a long time. It's sort of been relegated to the dustbin. She's used the word, or Ilhan Omar used the word dustbin, but in this case, it's apt. It's kind of has the same fossilized, anachronistic sound as Negro does, Caucasian, but she used it nevertheless. And she said only two. But like everything Jasmine Crockett says, you have to double check because she is a chronic liar. And in this case, there was 95 House members voted not to sign that that letter of commemoration and sympathy. And she says only 95 chose not to sign it. And she says only 2 Caucasian. That's false, because included in that group were the people who voted against it. And she may mean that applied to those who voted against it. But there was a greater number that never showed up by intent or voted present. You add them all together, Representative Crockett, there was 118 House members who said they were not going to put their name or not show up or not vote on anything that expressed sympathy for the passing of Charlie Kirk. And in that 118, there were plenty of people of so-called white legacies. But here's the point. The House has a tradition when major figures, political or in the media or in the popular culture, are gunned down to express empathy. One of the more horrific things that happened recently was in Minnesota when the Speaker of the Minnesota legislature and her husband were gunned down by he was a private citizen angry over abortion, and he shot both of them, and he also wounded another legislator and his spouse. And the point I'm making is the House got together almost immediately and expressed their sympathy and outrage and condemned that shooting, and 424 to 0 was the vote. So every single Republican went on record that saying this is atrocious that a gunman shot these very liberal Democratic legislators in the state of liberal Minnesota. Nobody argued and said, well, the shooter was against abortion, or, well, maybe he wasn't right-wing because Tim Walz seemed to have appointed. There was none of that. All that mattered was this was a horrific act, and everybody felt bad for the families, but more importantly, outraged that anybody would use violence for political purposes. So all people were trying to do after the death of Charlie Kirk, Representative Crockett, Representative Omar, Representative Ocasio-Cortez, just show a little sympathy. Just put away the politics, and you failed that basic human test. And you not only failed it, you did something even worse. You kept saying that he was a racist, and he was a racist every day, and he was mean-spirited, etc., etc. And then you did not give one shred of evidence. You didn't produce a written document. And when we have seen people who have quoted him, they misquoted him. Why don't you just watch his videos and see what he says when he encountered racists of either side? And he always opposed that. But for all of these representatives that represent the new face of the Democratic Party, the more we get to know you, the more we're not going to like you or support you.
What we saw in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's death was not just partisan callousness, but a deeper reflection of where American politics has drifted. The refusal to grant even a moment of empathy signals that our discourse is no longer about debating ideas, but about denying humanity to those on the other side. This matters beyond one incident. A society that normalizes contempt in moments of tragedy is a society training itself to view opponents not as fellow citizens, but as enemies unworthy of grace. History shows us that civilizations unravel when shared moral instincts like respect for the dead, compassion for grieving families, or condemnation of violence become conditional, parceled out according to political tribe. If America loses that common moral ground, then every crisis will become another stage for division, every tragedy another excuse for score settling. And when that day arrives, the problem will not be about left versus right. It will be about whether our democracy can survive without the glue of shared decency. If you value honest analysis and real conversations, make sure to subscribe. Hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments. What did we miss and what should we tackle next? Your voice makes this community stronger. Let's keep pushing for the truth together.